Part 87. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 863. 861. This small gesture was met with applause from everyone. Chi Xiao Yan held the flower in her arms, and she looked more delicate than the flower. She bowed slightly and continued to sing. This time it was more emotional and heart-wrenching. After Chi Xiao Yan finished singing, there was another burst of warm applause. Niu Daijin looked affectionately at Chi Xiao Yan, who was holding flowers on the stage and looked even more beautiful. He Tian knew that Chi Xiao Yan's singing was good, but she didn't expect that it would be so good and she would have a bright future. There were several more shows after that, all of which were exciting, but in He Tian's eyes, the good sisters sang better. Just be so confident, help your relatives or not. At the end of the party, Huo Yingzhe, He Tian and Niu Daijin, Chi Xiao Yan said goodbye. Are you in a hurry to go back? Chi Xiao Yan asked. I originally wanted to treat you to dinner. He Tian smiled and said, we can eat together anytime, but I think it would be better for you two to go on a date alone. Just spend your time together and we won't disturb you. Chi Xiao Yan blushed when she heard He Tian's joking words. Sister Tian, you are still so cunning, Chi Xiao Yan said angrily. Well, let's make another appointment that day. Niu Daijin's heart was bubbling with joy. He was going to have a good date with Xiao Yan tonight. He Tian, Huo Yingzhe left, Niu Daijin, and Chi Xiao Yan also drove away. They found a restaurant to eat first and then go home. The moonlight was very good today. When they were almost home, He Tian got out of the car and asked Zhang Ning to come from behind and drive her car. She wanted to walk under the moonlight with Huo Yingzhe. There were two figures on the ground, one tall and one short. He Tian was holding Huo Yingzhe's arm. Brother Yingzhe, we haven't walked like this for a long time, He Tian said with a smile, feeling the quietness around him and the bright moonlight, and his whole heart calmed down. Huo Yingzhe smiled and said, yes, looking at your own shadow, listening to your own footsteps, and talking in a low voice, there is something special in your heart. The noisy day is over, and it's night, He Tian said with emotion, the busyness during the day is for myself and for others. Only the quietness at night belongs to ourselves and each other. Haha, my Tian is starting to become a poet, Huo Yingzhe said with a smile. If you like it, I will often take you out for walks in the future. Deliberately, it's not so romantic, He Tian said, just be more casual. The two of them just said a word to each other and returned home together. The two fell asleep hugging each other, feeling their souls washed by the moonlight. Early the next morning, He Tian got up and went to work, and Huo Yingzhe handed over a box. A gift, He Tian was curious. She gave gifts early in the morning. It seemed that it was not festive recently. Huo Yingzhe said while putting on his clothes, megaphone, you can try it later. He Tian is very surprised. Brother Yingzhe, is it ready so soon? He Tian asked excitedly. If it can be used, she should stop talking loudly during class. Huo Yingzhe smiled and said, I just made a drawing for a factory and improved some techniques. In fact, it's not difficult. It just takes a little effort. Then let me try, He Tian smiled, then turned on the switch. Hey. Okay, the sound is loud, and the sound quality hasn't changed much. It's pretty good, Huo Yingzhe said, expressing satisfaction with his workmanship. You use it first, and I will try to get you a better one later. Yeah, He Tian was satisfied. Thank you, Brother Yingzhe. There are a few batteries nearby, bring them with you, Huo Yingzhe reminded. It can't be recharged yet, it's a bit troublesome. By the way, how long can this battery last? He Tian asked. These batteries must not be used up before one class. Huo Yingzhe smiled and said, one battery can be used for 5 hours. After using it, you can take off the battery. When you use it next time, put the battery back in. This can save the battery to the maximum extent. That's great. He Tian stepped forward and kissed Huo Yingzhe. Early in the morning, we set a fire. We couldn't eat meat, we could only drink some soup. He Tian had a loudspeaker and went to class boldly and high-spirited. Because of He Tian's iron-fisted attitude, no one dared not come to class. This is what He Tian wants. In every class, He Tian will talk about the key points and ask everyone to record them. Normal grades are included in the total score. Students must take classes well if they want to get scholarships and honors. In addition, He Tian's language is humorous and talkative in class, which also makes up for the bad impression He Tian left on his classmates at the beginning. Suddenly I felt that teacher he taught a good class and the content he taught was memorable. After He Tian used the microphone, her voice became quieter, but with the help of the loudspeaker, even the last student in the large classroom could hear her. Today is Thursday. After He Tian has completed her 4 classes in the morning and afternoon today, she has no classes on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Oops, it's great to have a 3-day weekend. Sharing pastries with everyone in the office, Teacher Xiao Chen came in with several packages in his hand and said, "Teacher Xiao He, here are 2 packages for you, which were sent from Nanji." After He Tian came to teach at the school, she wrote a letter to Yuanhua in Nanji and told the students her address in Nanji. Ah, He Tian was surprised. "Let me take a look." He Tian saw one package from Yuanhua and the other from Tang Pingan. "Who sent this?" Teacher Xiao Chen asked. "Teacher He, seeing that you are so happy, you must be a very good person." He Tian smiled and said, "He is my former student, let me see what is inside." I tore open the package and found 2 poetry collections by Yuanhua. They were signed by Yuanhua and read, "To the cutest girl, Teacher He." Student, Yuanhua. This is a monitor in my class. She is a girl who is good at writing poetry. He Tian said, "There are 2 poetry books she published in it." He Tian opened it and took a look, especially the newly published one, the first chapter She. The following annotation is dedicated to my dearest teacher He, who is the original form of this poem She. He Tian kept reading word for word, and her eyes felt a little sore unconsciously. She didn't expect that she would be of such great help to them, nor did she expect that these students would recognize her so much. Seeing He Tian's great reaction, Teacher Xiao Chen took the poetry collection and looked through it carefully. He also saw the first chapter She. After reading it carefully, he said, "Teacher He, to be so loved by students, you are a good person teacher." He Tian smiled, a little excited and speechless. Then she tore open another package, which contained 3 books. Tang Pingan's Wind and Cloud had been published and was divided into 3 volumes, upper, middle, and lower. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Qi Xing Cao. Chapter 864. 862. Xiao Chen was curious, took it over and looked at it, and asked, "Teacher He, this was also written by your student? Is it in traditional Chinese?" "Yeah, it turned out to be published in Xiangjiang." Yes, Tang Pingan was just a very shy boy at that time. When many people were writing lyrical prose, he started writing novels himself, and he used traditional Chinese characters. He Tian said, he mustered up the courage to write some lyrical prose. He came over and showed it to me. It was very good, so I sent the martial arts novel he wrote to Xiangjiang magazine through connections, but I didn't expect it to be published. Teacher Zhou and Teacher Lu came in after class, a little curious. Teacher Xiao Chen quickly explained it to everyone. Teacher Zhou was surprised and said, "Teacher He, can you show me the collection of poems?" Okay. He Tian nodded, hoping that more people would recognize her student. Teacher Lu and Teacher Zhou wanted to read the martial arts novel. After reading it once, Teacher Zhou said with emotion, The writing is beautiful and the lyricism can be expressed freely. I don't believe it was written by a student. He Tian took it over and studied it carefully. I found that these sentences are very beautiful, and there is always a power behind the beauty. He Tian thought for a while, and then wrote a letter to Yuanhua, asking her to send a copy of the collection of poems to Xie Weining and let her see if it could be published in Xiangjiang, or adapted into a song. He Tian quickly wrote the letter and planned to send it when she returned at noon. He Tian has only read the second volume, so she borrowed the first 2 volumes from teacher Lu and teacher Xiao Chen to read, but she was told to keep them carefully. They were given to her by her students and should be treasured. At noon, He Tian went to post letters. If it can be published in Xiangjiang, not only will it receive a royalty, but it may also be favored by a music company and adapted into a song, which will generate another income. With a rich material life, Yuanhua created more beautiful poems without any distractions. In the office, many people envied teacher He for having such a student. In the following period, He Tian often received magazines or books and periodicals from students in Nanxi, telling teacher He their results. He Tian also praised them one by one. On the eve of August 15, He Tian personally asked Sanfan Kiao pastry shop in Nanxi to send a super large cake and some other snacks to class 1 of the 80th grade of the Chinese department to sponsor them to hold a class reunion. Although teachers and students cannot meet each other, private contact has always existed. This connection may diminish over time, but it will always be in each other's hearts. From Friday, He Tian doesn't have to go to class. Feeling great. In addition to visiting relatives, visiting shops, and checking accounts, He Tian also wanted to hold a small party at home. However, Huo Yingji came back in the evening and told Zhou Yuanchao that Wang Ying had arrived in Yanjing. He Tian thought for a moment and said, I happen to have nothing to do tomorrow, so I'll go to Zhou Yuanchao's house to see what's missing and buy it together. Thank you for your hard work. Huo Yingji smiled, I will go to his house with Yuanchao tomorrow. You wait for me over there and we will come back together. Okay. He Tian nodded. He Tian also treated her husband's good brother sincerely. At the same time, he and Wang Ying also became good friends. The next day, He Tian sent her child to school and went to Huo Yingji to give her the address. This is the house assigned to Zhou Yuanchao's work unit. It has 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms, and is more than 120 square meters. It is quite large. Wang Ying lived on the 3rd floor, and He Tian went upstairs and knocked on the door. Wang Ying opened the door and saw He Tian. She was pleasantly surprised and said, Sister-in-law, come in quickly. I am unfamiliar with this place, and finally I meet an acquaintance. Where's Xiaobin? He Tian came in carrying something. This child is sleeping. Wang Ying whispered, Sister-in-law, the house is in a mess, and I am packing things to make you laugh. It's like this when we just moved here. I'm here today to help see what's missing in your home. He Tian smiled and started to pack Wang Ying's things with ease. Wang Ying smiled, but was not as polite as He Tian, and said, Sister-in-law, I don't want to see you anymore. I also want to clean up the house quickly. You and Korea went to work yesterday, and I will go to work tomorrow. If you can't do it right, you'll have to wait until you have a break to clean it up. Haha, how is your father-in-law's health? He Tian asked. The reason why Zhou Yuanchao came to report so late was because his stepfather was in poor health. When this was mentioned, Wang Ying became angry and said, Hey, my father-in-law is in good health. He just didn't want to leave Inner Mongolia, so he thought he was not in good health and pretended to be sick. Yuanchao waited on him without taking off his clothes. When he heard that when he went to the hospital to see a doctor, he scolded Yuanchao, saying that he would leave everything to Chang Shengtian and not go anywhere. Later, his mother-in-law found out and asked about it, and found out that the old man did not want to leave his hometown. Oh, Then if your stepfather doesn't come, then your mother-in-law can't come either, right? He Tian asked. Zhou Yuanchao had always hoped to be able to honor his parents nearby, but due to work, he had never been able to do so. Yes, Wang Ying smiled bitterly. Although Yuanchao was angry, he didn't blame his stepfather. He said that since he was a child, his stepfather had always treated him as his own son. Even if he had a younger sister, he would be treated equally. This is why Yuanchao wanted to take over his two elders. The reason why I came here to be filial is that I am too old to be at home. Yes, the old man will be resettled in his new home. He Tian nodded and said, you should also persuade him to help the DPRK and let him be more open-minded. He is already very filial. By the way, don't you have a sister-in-law? How old is she? Wang Ying was very happy to see He Tian asking her sister-in-law, and said, my sister-in-law is a cheerful prairie girl, 15 years old, with a red little face, round and very cute. It is because of her that we have her in the family. Chao and my stepfather didn't quarrel. Then what are your sister-in-law's specialties? He Tian asked, having an idea in her mind. Wang Ying thought for a moment and said, being able to ride a horse and herd animals, is this considered a specialty? It doesn't matter, but it seems that it is only useful on the grassland, not in Yanjing. He Tian was confused. For example, singing, dancing. Yes, my sister-in-law Serena likes to sing, and she sings very beautifully. She participated in the song competition this year and won first place. Wang Ying said, Sister Tian, you mean to let my sister-in-law take the entrance exam to the music academy here or something like that? Haha, if the little girl likes to sing, and she is from an ethnic minority, the chances should be great. You also know that uniting all ethnic groups is the consistent purpose of the party's central committee. When your sister-in-law comes to Yanjing, your father-in-law and mother-in-law will also hear it comes. He Tian smiled and had to say that this was a good idea. When parents are old and unable to take care of them, it would be very painful for anyone else. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 865. 863. It would be fine if there were no conditions, but now Zhou Yuanchao has the ability to take his parents by his side and be filial. Wang Ying sighed and said, actually, I know that my father-in-law is a good person. He thinks that he is old and doesn't want to drag me and you and Korea down. Let us work and live well outside. He is old and cannot help in the city. It's better to live on the grassland with us, where you can graze cattle and send us beef jerky and cheese. I heard before that Yuanchao was very respectful and grateful to his stepfather. He Tian smiled, don't worry, work hard and let them know that you make a lot of money in the city and can support them. They will naturally be willing coming. That's how I advise to aid Korea. Wang Ying said, if you are in Nanshi Research Institute and don't come to Yanjing with the boss, you may not have the confidence to aid Korea, but if you are transferred to Yanjing with the boss and hang out with the boss, the salary will be high, and the bonus is higher, and I can pick up my parents-in-law earlier. Every family has a scripture that is difficult to recite. However, Zhou Yuanchao's stepfather is a man who loves his children, which is better than those unreasonable people. He Tian asked Wang Ying to help her pack things. Then He Tian saw that Wang Ying's house had no electrical appliances. In the afternoon, He Tian went directly to the home appliance supermarket to order a washing machine, refrigerator, and rice cooker. As for the air conditioner, it will not be installed if it is not needed for the time being. Because installing an air conditioner requires changing the wiring, it is quite troublesome. When He Tian came over again in the afternoon, she handed Wang Ying 3 bills of lading and said, Wang Ying, you have just moved here and you are not short of other things. I will give you 3 pieces of home appliances, which you can use. Ah, Wang Ying was stunned for a moment, then saw the price above. Sister-in-law, this is too expensive, I can't have it. Okay, don't be polite to me, he Tian said, when you move here, you have to buy a lot of things. Although you can't say that you will be poor after moving for 3 years, you are not rich, and you still have to save money to buy your own things. Father-in-law and mother-in-law took it. Wang Ying was moved. She arrived in a strange place and felt anxious. It was rare to find an acquaintance. This acquaintance also gave them such a big gift. Sister-in-law, thank you, Wang Ying thanked her, this costs 2,003 yuan, which is my year's salary. Okay, Yuan Chao and brother Yingjia have a lifelong friendship, let's not worry about it, he Tian said, since Huo Yingjia told about the past life, Zhou Yuan Chao once lost his life to save Huo Yingjia. In this life, the relationship between the two is also very good. He Tian and Huo Yingjia both wanted to repay Zhou Yuan Chao. Wang Ying refused and thought about how to repay He Tian in the future. In the evening, when Zhou Yuan Chao came back, he also brought Huo Yingjia with him. At home, Wang Ying and He Tian have already prepared meals. Sister-in-law, your style is still the same, Zhou Yuan Chao chuckled, you are still so young, I am so lucky. Okay, you smooth talker, wash your hands quickly and come over to eat, He Tian smiled and said, you are not afraid of getting beaten. Huo Yingjia smiled and said, this guy's skin is itchy. Boss, give him a good beating and make him be obedient, Wang Ying said with a smile, he is as stubborn as a donkey. There are some things that it is useless for me to say over and over again. The only person in this world who can control Zhou Yuan Chao is the boss. Zhou Yuan Chao came out of the bathroom and retorted, what the boss said makes sense, of course I will listen. What you said doesn't make sense, so of course I can't listen. Just make excuses, Wang Ying laughed and went out to eat with her child in her arms. By the way, you two are working, what will happen to the child, He Tian asked. The child is not old enough to attend a Yaheng class. Wang Ying smiled bitterly and said, I was thinking of sending her to your house for 2 days and asking Grandma Wang to look after the child for a few days. I am looking for an aunt in our community to help me look after the child. We will give her a little money a month. When He Tian heard this, she quickly shook her head and said, how can this be done? If this is the case, you might as well leave your children in your hometown. Yes, if it doesn't work, I will send him back to Nanji and let my mother help take care of him, Wang Ying said with a smile, I will take him over when he can go to kindergarten. He Tian thought for a while and said, let's do this. You send your child to my house before going to work. I only have 3 days of classes a week. Grandma Wang can also help me at home. Do you think this will work? Wang Ying and Zhou Yuan Chao were a little excited, but they calmed down immediately. Boss, sister-in-law, is this going to be too much trouble for you? Zhou Yuan Chao was a little embarrassed. He would naturally feel more at ease if it was placed at the boss's house. But this is not just a day or two, it will take a year or two. It's a bit troublesome, but compared to leaving your child with someone else, it's better to leave it at my house. We are good friends, and your son is also my nephew, Huo Yingjia said, and I have 2 children at home, together. It's easy to play with and take care of. Thank you, boss, Zhou Yuan Chao said, I have been thinking about it for a while and asked my sister to come here to take the exam at the music academy. When she comes, my stepfather and my mother will also have to come with them. Then someone will take care of the child. You in Korea, you have also thought of this method. I was talking about this issue when I was with my sister-in-law today, and we agree on it, Wang Ying said, and one of my sister-in-law's good sisters is studying at the Conservatory of Music. You can also ask for some details about the exam. Yes, this is the most labor-saving method, Zhou Yuan Chao said. By the way, sister-in-law, when are the exams at the Conservatory of Music? I think it will be May after the Chinese New Year. I don't know very well. I'll go back and ask Xiao Yan, he Tian said. You can come here early and ask a famous teacher for guidance. It's much better than taking the exam in ignorance. Okay, I will bring my sister over when I go back to celebrate the New Year this year, Zhou Yuanchao said with a smile. My stepfather is actually afraid of hurting me. I'm afraid that he won't be able to make money in the city and will have to support us and drag us down. When I come back this time, my stepfather gave me 5,000 yuan, and I don't know how he saved so much money. Zhou Yuanchao's stepfather was just an ordinary herdsman, and the money was probably accumulated over many years. By the way, how much money do you have? If you don't want to live in a building, you can buy a smaller yard, Huo Yingji said. Having a yard in the future will also be an asset to the family. Zhou Yuanchao looked at Wang Ying and asked, does our family have 30,000 yuan? Wang Ying knew that he Tian and Huo Yingji were rich and would not take advantage of her or hide it. She said, including what my stepfather gave us, we have 41,000 yuan. Isn't that enough? Zhou Yuanchao smiled playfully and said, boss, sister-in-law, please lend me some money first. I will buy a yard first. From now on, I will save everything except living expenses every month and return it to you. The two have a good relationship, but Zhou Yuanchao is not polite to Huo Yingji. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Qi Xing Cao. Chapter 866. 864. There is no way to repay the life-saving grace. If money could be used to repay a favor, and friends needed it, he Tian and Huo Yingji would both be willing. Okay, you go find Lao Lian. It's best to buy it near us. If anything happens in the future, we can take care of each other, he Tian said. The 2 yards Xiao Yan and the others bought last year are smaller. Tens of thousands, I'll lend you 100,000. He Tian knows Zhou Yuanchao's status in Huo Yingji's heart, so since she can help Niu Dajin and Li Yunzong buy a house, she can also help Zhou Yuanchao buy a house. Instead of waiting for Huo Yingji to ask her, it would be better for her to agree first. Seeing that he Tian agreed, Huo Yingji smiled and nodded. What your sister-in-law said is that you should make a decision earlier. The price of this house changes every day. I will take you to Lao Lian every day. He is interested in the houses near us, very familiar. Yeah, thank you, boss, Zhou Yuanchao said. It's all without saying anything. Boss, drink. We will remember what you and your sister-in-law said to us and our husband. We will never forget it in our lives. Haha, okay, we agreed to be brothers for life, Huo Yingji said with a smile. We didn't grow old together in our last life, and we only had a relationship for a few years. In this life, we must be safe and long-lasting. The two left in the evening. The couple in the building were very excited. Yingji, the boss, and sister-in-law are good people, Wang Ying said. This is to hope that we can buy property in Yanjing and have a family background. Yes, Zhou Yuanchao said, although I wanted to borrow money just now, it was also a joke. I didn't expect that my sister-in-law and the boss actually agreed. Neither of them thought of it. Wang Ying gently hugged her husband and said, Yuanchao, actually the boss and sister-in-law don't have many friends, but for those who really become their friends, they will try their best to help. The boss helped us with several big things in our family. In the future, you can't have two minds with your boss at work. Well, I understand, Zhou Yuanchao said in a deep voice. In this life, apart from parents, wives, and children, the eldest brother and sister-in-law are the people we are closest to. They are rich, but they are not brought by the strong wind, nor are they rich or not. Local flower, we must remember our kindness. After buying a house, my stepfather and mother may not object to coming to Yanjing. Wang Ying nodded and said, yes, we all work hard and can pay off the debt as soon as possible. Well, work hard, Wang Zhou Yuanchao said. Before I go to work tomorrow, I will send the children to the boss's house, and then go to work with the boss. You can report in with peace of mind. Okay, when I get off work, I will pick up the child, Wang Ying said with a smile. Let the child live with the eldest brother and sister-in-law. I don't worry, it will only cause trouble for them. Yes, I hope to bring my parents over as soon as possible, Zhou Yuanchao said, so that they can go to work with peace of mind. The couple talked quietly. On the way home, He Tiantian and Huo Yingzhi came down 2 or 3 kilometers away from home and walked home hand in hand. Hey, I hope Yuanchao can live a long life in this life, Huo Yingzhi said. I owed him a life in my last life, so I will try my best to be nice to him in this life. He Tiantian smiled and said, yes, our destiny can be changed, Xiao Yan's destiny can be changed, and so can Zhou Yuanchao's. We are all good people, and we will be fine if we have not done anything harmful to nature. I hope so. Huo Yingzhi felt uneasy. He could feel a hint of danger, that he would have an incalculable feeling in the future, but when he tried to calculate it again, that hint of mystery disappeared again. He felt this way about Zhou Yuanchao. I wonder if having Zhou Yuanchao follow him to Yanjing is a blessing or a curse. After leaving Nanji, the reason why Huo Yingzhi took Zhou Yuanchao with him was to protect Zhou Yuanchao and avoid his untimely death. It's a blessing, not a curse. It's a disaster that can't be avoided, He Tiantian said. Do your best, obey fate, and don't think so much. He Tiantian turned her head and saw Huo Yingzhi frowning, and reached out to help Huo Yingzhi smooth away the sadness between his brows. Well, yes, Huo Yingzhi nodded. Yes, you have no regrets in doing things. Even if it is the way of heaven, you will not be unreasonable. That's right, He Tiantian said. Perhaps our existence is due to God's negligence in the previous life and gave us another chance. Philosophically, it does not mean that existence is reasonable. Haha, thank you, teacher He, for your explanation. Huo Yingzhi smiled and hugged He Tiantian gently. He Tiantian and Huo Yingzhi turned into the alley and saw the yellow lights at the door. They looked at each other and smiled, and all the gloom and sadness in their hearts disappeared. As long as you have a home, all other difficulties are no problem. What kind of blackmail and intrigue, what kind of grievances and hatreds, what kind of unfairness of heaven, what kind of different paths between human beings and immortals. It's just a fleeting cloud, a clear wave of dust. The next day they were having breakfast when the couple brought their children over. Grandma Wang just likes children, so she happily agreed to help look after the children. It happened to be the weekend, and Huo Ruwa and Huo Ruiman liked it very much when they saw a little brother coming to the house. After dinner, they took the little brother to the toy room to play. He Tiantian is fine and helping to take care of the children at home. Wang Ying went to the hospital, and Zhou Yuanchao took Huo Yingzhi's car and went to the work together. The housework at home was completed by Lao Guo and his wife. Even if He Tiantian does laundry, she only washes her and her husband's underwear every day, and she doesn't need to do anything else. In this way, the family is also at ease. He Tiantian gradually enjoyed this kind of leisure, and was thinking about what to eat for lunch when Zhao Huan came with Huo Ruxiang. Hello aunt, Ruxiang misses you. Huo Ruxiang ran over as soon as he entered the door and expressed his longing to the beautiful second aunt. He Tiantian smiled and said, haha, Aunt Mrs. Ruxiang too. Tomorrow, your second uncle, younger brothers and sisters will go over to visit you. I know my aunt is going to go tomorrow, so I asked my mother to send me here today, and I will go back with you tomorrow so that my mother won't have to pick me up. Huo Ruxiang said, looking around. Where are my younger brothers and sisters? The younger brothers and sisters are playing in the house. There is also a little brother in the house. Can you help aunt take care of the little brother? He Tiantian smiled and said, Ruxiang is the eldest brother, so you can't bully the little brother, but good. No bullying, I'll take them to play together. After Huo Ruxiang finished speaking, he ran into the toy room. When Zhao Huan saw her son running away, She sat down and said with a smile, the child was clamoring to come over. I couldn't control it anymore, so I brought him here. If the child is willing to come, sister-in-law, you can send it over. He Tian smiled and said, anyway, I don't work on weekends, so it'll be fine. Haha, I have a day off today. Come here for a walk, Zhao Huan said. She is usually busy with work and doesn't have many friends. She has no place to go. It would be best to come to the home of her second brother and sister. The children can play together and the younger son can be taken care of by her mother-in-law. She can rest for a while. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 867. 865. Seeing that it was almost noon, He Tian saw fresh leeks at home, chopped some pork, and prepared to make dumplings. With Zhao Huan here, He Tian had a helper, and the speed was very fast. Before 12 o'clock, he made a lot of dumplings, half of them were eaten, and the remaining half was frozen by He Tian in the refrigerator for when he wanted to eat them later. Just take it out and cook it. After lunch, Zhao Huan left, but Huo Ruxiang stayed. In the afternoon, Qi Xiaoyan came over with her children to visit. The original 4 children, plus Niu Da and Niu Er, a total of 6 children, were playing in the yard, which was very lively. Grandma Wang's favorite thing to do is to sit at the door of the house with a small bench, basking in the sun, squinting and watching the children playing, with a smile on her face from time to time. If a child falls down or cries, she will get up and comfort him. If they are sleepy, bring them into the house to sleep. If they are not sleepy, give them something to eat. Qi Xiaoyan looked at her 2 fat sons who were eating cake in the yard, feeling quite speechless and said, "Hey, my 2 fat sons don't know how to be polite at all when they come to your house. Haha, you are not polite, and you still ask your children to be polite." He Tian teased, "Don't do to others what you don't want others to do to you." He, Qi Xiaoyan smiled, "I'm just telling you, Sister Tian, how was my singing there? Did it sound good?" "It sounds good." He Tian smiled and said this sincerely. "Is there any progress?" Qi Xiaoyan looked at He Tian hopefully. She wanted to go further. He Tian frowned and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "I just think it sounds good. As for whether there has been any progress, I can't answer such a professional question. You know that I am speechless and don't understand the music. By the way, I received some tapes from Sister Xia a few days ago. There are nicer songs. Maybe you can absorb some of the advantages of other genres." He Tian smiled and turned to go to the room to get them. I found the tape, put it in the player, and pressed the button. It contains some popular songs from Hong Kong and Taiwan. When Qi Xiaoyan heard it, she was a little uncomfortable at first, but she also felt that this kind of singing was different from usual, but the lyrics and melody of the song were more attractive. He Tian was drinking tea and eating snacks. She sat on the sofa and closed her eyes. Grandma's Penhubei was playing on the player. The evening breeze was blowing in Penhubei, white waves followed the beach, and there were no coconut trees dotting the setting sun, a sea of blue. After Qi Xiaoyan finished listening, her eyes were a little blurred and yearning. "I thought of my relatives at home, every plant and tree in my home, and that big yellow dog." The second song is also Country Road that He Tian likes better, followed by the Cantonese song. After listening to this side, Qi Xiaoyan calmed down and said, "Sister Tian, I find these songs are very touching. Yes, if you like it, you can take it back and listen to it. It may be helpful to you." He Tian smiled and said, "As for how to research and how to learn, you can only rely on yourself. If you want, I ask Sister Xie to send you some music course books from Xiangjiang." I want to learn," Qi Xiaoyan said. "I can't understand those Cantonese words, but I can understand the first 2 songs. There is a touch of warmth and nostalgia in them, but they can directly reach people's hearts. I also like those two songs very much. He Tian Tian smiled. These two songs are from Taiwan. Maybe it is for historical reasons. The emotions contained in these songs can easily reach people's hearts. Distance separates two places, but it cannot stop people's emotions. Chi Xiao Yan nodded. Thank you, Sister Tian Tian, for letting me know more about the outside world. If it weren't for you, I would still be a country boy. Wild girl, how can you have such a colorful life? Haha, I'm just saying a few words. The most important thing is that you work hard. He Tian Tian smiled and said, work hard, slowly find your own songs, accumulate slowly, and you can become a famous singer in the future. Ye Chi Xiao Yan nodded. Since the welcome party over there, I have received some songs. I will be recording them in a while. I will try my best to sing them. When the time comes, give me your autograph, Qi the singer. He Tian Tian said with a smile. The careers of people around her were flourishing, and she felt that she should also make some efforts in education. However, He Tian Tian didn't know that fate would play another big joke on her later. At this time, He Tian Tian was still working hard to become an educator. Work, business, and family are all in order under He Tianation's careful arrangements, and he also helps people around him. Now Zhou Yuancheo's son Zhou Ben originally called He Tian Tian aunt. After getting familiar with him, he directly called He Tian Tian mother, which made He Tian Tian beam with joy. He Tian Tian is very satisfied with her current situation and is in a good mood every day. However, in the world, before good things come, there are always some signs and greetings to make people feel prepared, but bad things always come unexpectedly. In the blink of an eye, it's winter, it's snowing heavily outside, the temperature is very low, and it's extremely cold outside. The sky seemed to be shrouded by a pot lid, gloomy and depressing. On this day, He Tian Tian got off work, prepared meals, and waited for Huo Yingji's return with her children. However, after 6 o'clock, Huo Yingji still hasn't returned home. 7 o'clock. Before he arrived, He Tian Tian was a little anxious. She walked back and forth at the door, and sometimes went out of the alley to see if Huo Yingji's car could appear in front of her. Even if something happened, Huo Yingji would ask Zhang Ning or Xie Wu to come back and talk about it. But Huo Yingji didn't come, and neither did Zhou Yuanchao. Grandma Wang was also a little anxious, but it was cold outside and the adults couldn't all go out to wait for someone, so she took care of the children in the house. From time to time I look at the door, thinking about Dad, why hasn't he come to pick me up? 8 o'clock. He Tianation's body felt a little cold, and she suddenly thought that there was a little spinner turtle at home. Little spin turtle, did you go and find out what happened? He Tian Tian whispered, brother Yingji hasn't come yet, will something happen? He Tian Tian thought about the time Huo Yingji fell into a coma and almost became a fool afterwards. The more I think about it, the more I am afraid. Madam, don't worry, I'll be there right away, little spin turtle said. He was also a little curious. The owner has a drop of blood on his body, and it should be able to feel it if something happens to the owner. I don't feel anything right now. It should be because the owner is not in danger. As long as it's not life-threatening, it's not a big deal. After the little turtle left, He Tian Tian waited anxiously. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Xing Cao. Chapter 868. 866. Grandma Wang put the 3 children to sleep and came out to persuade He Tian Tian to come into the house. Even if something happens, He Tian Tian can't do anything. Otherwise, if something happens to the 2 adults, what should the 3 little ones do? Tian Tian, don't worry, Grandma Wang said, go inside first. It won't help if you are freezing outside like this. Let's just wait at home. He Tian thought for a while and said, Grandma Wang, you are looking after the house at home. I'll drive over to see what's going on. Tian, it's snowing so much outside and the roads are slippery. You should stay at home. Grandma Wang persuaded her, you are uneasy now and it's not safe to drive. This way, Yingzhe will be fine. You should get into trouble first and make yourself confused. Position. He Tian looked at the heavy snow outside, and there was also a thick layer of snow on the ground. Yes, it is dangerous for her to drive in this state. Don't act on impulse. He Tian warned herself over and over again. Grandma Wang, I made a note. If I don't go out, I'll wait at home. He Tian looked worried, but reason still prevailed. She had already prepared for the worst. Even if something happened to her family, she would not be able to fall down even if she was old and young. That's good. Grandma Wang nodded, you go inside to warm yourself up, and I'll get some ginger soup to warm you up. He Tian declined, Grandma Wang, it's getting late. You should go back to the house and rest. After the child goes to bed, I will make ginger soup myself and cook more. When they come later, they can also have a bowl. Well, that's good. Seeing that He Tian had work to do, Grandma Wang didn't say much and went back to her room. As I get older, I can't stay up late. While He Tian was making ginger soup, she looked at the flying snowflakes outside, feeling sad in her heart. Madam, madam. The little spinner came back, something happened. The master was injured and just woke up. Zhou Yuanchao was seriously injured. In order to save the master, he is rescuing him. I want you to get a few vitality pills. The ginger soup in He Tian's hand fell to the ground and scattered all over. Grandma Wang heard the sound over there and hurriedly came out and asked, Tian, what's wrong? Grandma Wang couldn't see the little spinner turtle, so He Tian could only find other reasons. Grandma Wang, you go to my house and help me take care of the child. I have to go out, He Tian said, and was about to run outside. Grandma Wang was worried and said, even if you go out, you have to wear thicker clothes. Oh, He Tian found a thick down jacket, put it on, and was about to go out. Drive slowly and be careful, Grandma Wang explained, a little worried. Grandma Wang knew that she couldn't help with things outside, so she could only look after the children at home. He Tian went to the garage to drive, got in the car, and then asked, the pills are all in the space at my ankle, but I don't know which one is the vitality pill. He Tian took out all the bottles of medicine and asked the little turtle to start looking. The little spinner was speechless, but the lady had no memory of ancient times, so it was normal not to know. It's in a green bottle, green pills, the little turtle said. Madam, don't panic. The owner has woken up and is out of danger. He is conscious and conscious. Zhou Yuanchao is rescuing him. You drive well and we will go directly to the hospital. Okay. He Tian took a few deep breaths to calm down a little. In order to deliver the medicine to the hospital as soon as possible, He Tian drove faster than usual. Fortunately, there was a little turtle on the side to remind him that the vehicle in front was equivalent to a navigation. Quite convenient. When he arrived at the hospital, He Tian parked the car aside, took the pills and ran to the hospital. It was said that they were the family members of the person involved in the laboratory accident today, and a nurse came over personally to take He Tian up. At the door of the emergency room, Huo Yingzhe sat on a chair with a cane, and Wang Ying stood opposite, crying secretly. How's it going? He Tian ran over quickly, expressing concern. When Wang Ying saw He Tian, she hugged He Tian and cried loudly, but she was afraid that her crying would be too loud, so she could only bury her head in He Tian's body and choke. In this way, the crying will not be so loud. He Tian slowly moved Wang Ying's back and said, it's okay. I'm a good person to help the Korean people. Jiren has his own destiny, and God will protect him. Wang Ying was so excited that her choked movements became more violent and she almost fainted. Upon seeing this, Huo Yingzhi stretched out his hand and hit Wang Ying on the back of the neck, causing Wang Ying to faint. Wang Ying's emotions were too excited, and it might be even worse when she was sober. Tian Tian, let her lie flat on the bench, Huo Yingzhi reminded. He had a broken leg and was wearing a plaster. Okay, Tian Tian didn't care about feeling sorry for Huo Yingzhi, and quickly put Wang Yingping on the bench. Have you brought the vitality pills? Huo Yingzhi asked. The doctor will be out soon. I want to take them myself. Tiandian nodded and said, I brought it, just your legs. I'm fine. I'll be fine after a month or two of cultivation, Huo Yingzhi said. If we can't give Yuan Chao the vitality pill as soon as possible, he won't be able to survive. After the rescue, the doctor came out. The family members can go in and say a few words. The doctor's face was filled with grief, but there were young scientific researchers inside. It was a pity. Huo Yingzhi nodded and said, okay, let's go in now. Tian Tian, wake up Wang Ying outside quickly. Not far away, Zhang Ning and Xie Wu wanted to support Huo Yingzhi. No need, you guys are outside helping her wake up as soon as possible. Huo Yingzhi walked in quickly with crutches, his movements were very flexible. The doctors and nurses left and asked the family members to come in and talk. Seeing that no one was around, Huo Yingzhi cast 2 spells and ignited the fire on Zhou Yuanchao's shoulder. Then he quickly took out 3 vitality pills, lifted Zhou Yuanchao's chin, and let the vitality pills in Zhou Yuanchao's mouth quickly turn into water and flow into Zhou Yuanchao's stomach. In just a few seconds, the life fire on Zhou Yuanchao's head was already lit. A gust of cold wind blew, causing the 3 life fires to shake constantly. Huo Yingzhi couldn't do anything. If he did, the underworld would know that someone was forcibly extending his life. By then, Zhou Yuanchao would be on the blacklist and would die unexpectedly sooner or later. Fortunately, Tian Tian came earlier. As long as the life fire was ignited before the people from the underworld came and kept it burning, Zhou Yuanchao could live 100 years. The flames became smaller and weaker. Huo Yingzhi was anxious, but he didn't dare to do anything. With the help of Tian Tian, Wang Ying pinched the Ren Zhone point and finally woke up. She hurried over. Yuan Chao, wake up, Wang Ying shouted, we have old people and young children. If you leave like this, what will happen to our family? Yuan Chao, hold on, good brother, Huo Yingzhi said in a deep voice. Yuan Chao, wake up, we are all waiting for you. Tian Tian choked up. She was still alive in the morning, but now she is lying on the hospital bed. Wang Ying cried so hard that she wanted to die, and Tian Tian understood her pain. If it was Huo Yingzhi, she would be like this, even more sad and depressed. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Xing Cao. Chapter 869. 867. Suddenly, the room felt even colder. The nurse outside was a little curious and quickly came over to take a look. The little nurse is used to seeing the family members crying and shouting in the room. It's not that she doesn't sympathize, it's that she still has a lot of work to do and there are other patients to rescue, so she doesn't have time to sympathize. However, when the young nurse's eyes fell on the newly imported instrument beside the patient's bed, she saw something unbelievable. Stunned. However, the patient's heartbeat and blood pressure increased, and signs of life appeared again. The little nurse turned around and ran out to find the doctor who had just rescued her, asking him to come over quickly and continue the first aid. Dr. Lu, the patient we just rescued has signs of life again. Please go over and have a look, the little nurse said hurriedly, pulling the doctor to the emergency room. Dr. Lu frowned and said, Xiaozhou, even though it's night, you can't talk nonsense. That person has passed away, I have confirmed it again and again. Dr. Lu, he is really alive. I just saw the heartbeat and blood pressure on the instrument went up, Nurse Xiao Zhou explained hurriedly, holding on to Dr. Lu. Fortunately, Dr. Lu is over 50 years old, otherwise he would not be able to explain clearly by a little girl of 18 or 19 years old. Isn't it just dazzling? Dr. Lu asked. It has obviously stopped. No, my eyesight is very good. If you don't believe me, you can go and see for yourself. Nurse Xiao Zhou continued to pull Dr. Lu over. Dr. Lu felt that Xiao Zhou usually acted prudently and was not like a person who talked nonsense, let alone a human life. Dr. Lu, look, Xiao Zhou pointed to the instrument, there is a heartbeat and blood pressure on it. The person has not woken up, so we have to continue rescuing him. Dr. Lu was stunned, but when he heard Xiao Zhou's voice, he realized the problem and quickly stepped forward to take the patient's pulse. He could indeed feel the pulse, and it was quite strong. The patient can still be saved. You go out quickly, and we will continue the rescue, Dr. Lu said hurriedly. It is not about who is responsible now, but how to save the person. Wang Ying was stunned and wanted to ask what was going on, but Tian had already taken her out. Sister-in-law, what is going on? Wang Ying was stunned. Am I dreaming? Why did those doctors start rescuing Zhou Yuanchao again? Wang Ying, please calm down. This is a good thing. It proves that there is still hope, Tian persuaded. If there is a heartbeat and blood pressure, things will definitely get better. Wang Ying put her hands together and prayed, please God, please God. Tian prayed together on the side. Seeing that Huo Yingzhe was still standing, Tian went over and said, sit down. The doctors are continuing the rescue. He will be fine if he aids Korea. Huo Yingzhe looked ugly and had some sweat on his forehead. Yeah, Huo Yingzhe nodded, believing that fate would not be so cruel. About 10 minutes later, Dr. Lu came out and said with a smile, the patient has been rescued, but he lost too much blood and is still in a coma. Wow! Wang Ying finally dared to cry, but she quickly covered her mouth for fear of disturbing other patients in the hospital. Tian patted her shoulder and comforted her softly, it's okay, everything is fine now. Just as he was talking, Wang Ying fainted again. Zhou Yuanchao was sent to the intensive care unit and continued to be observed. Tian had no choice but to help Wang Ying to a ward and let her rest for a while. Xie Wu and Zhang Ning sent Huo Yingzhe to the ward to rest. Tian settled Wang Ying and came to Huo Yingzhe. What's going on? Tian asked. I can't wait for you at home, so I'm very anxious. Huo Yingzhe stretched out his hand to touch Tian's hand. He felt a little sleepy and said with force, a spy infiltrated our unit. After he was discovered, the man directly destroyed the laboratory. During the experiment, there was an explosion. Yuanchao was at the front, and he jumped in front of me at the most critical moment. He woke up in the hospital. Caught off guard, these explosions could actually hurt him. Although it would not be fatal, he would still have to suffer some physical pain. But Zhou Yuanchao, a fool, actually stood in front of him at the critical moment. Hey, this brother has nothing to say about his past life, this life, and 2 lifetimes. In fact, those things can't hurt Huo Yingzhe. It's just that Zhou Yuanchao rushed up to protect him, and he wanted to save Zhou Yuanchao. Don't blame yourself, Tian smiled and said, fortunately, Zhou Yuanchao came back to life. Let's be doubly nice to him in the future. You are also very tired. Take a good rest. I will be with you by the side. Huo Yingzhe smiled and said, no, I'll ask Xie Wu to take you home, have a good sleep, and bring me breakfast tomorrow morning. I want to eat the porridge you made. By the way, don't forget to pack it for me some clothes. When you leave, take Wang Ying back with you. It's better to be at home than in the hospital. Okay, Tian thought for a while and agreed. Tian kissed Huo Yingzhe's forehead and said, have a good rest. Knowing that you are alive is better than anything else. Well, I'm fine, Huo Yingzhi said. His leg was still pressed by the huge steel plate. Zhou Yuanchao was blocking him at that time. He quickly dragged Zhou Yuanchao out, but before he had time, he was hit in the leg. If it had been anyone else, he would probably have been smashed into a pulp. His body was in better shape than ordinary people, and he had a layer of protection at the time, so it was just a minor fracture. Fortunately, Zhou Yuanchao survived, which can be regarded as a blessing in misfortune. Wang Ying woke up, and He Tiantian took her away with her. Zhang Ning drove in front himself, and He Tiantian drove Wang Ying behind. Wang Ying was in a better mood now and said, "Sister-in-law, thank you for today. I'll take a look at the child later, and I'll ask Zhang Ning to send me home. I need to prepare some things and send them to you in Korea tomorrow. Maybe it will be available tomorrow." "You'd better go back tomorrow," He Tiantian said. "It's almost 11 o'clock now, and I don't worry about you going home alone. Eat something at my house, have a good sleep, and let Zhang know tomorrow Ning will send you home to pack things for you and Xiao. As for the child, don't worry, he will eat it at my house and Grandma Wang can help take care of it." Wang Ying was very moved after hearing this and said, "Thank you very much, sister-in-law." He Tiantian smiled bitterly and said, "Hey, something happened in the experiment this time. Yingzhi and Yuanchao were at the front. If it hadn't been for Yuanchao or Yingzhi, he wouldn't have been so seriously injured. It's us who should thank you. Hey, this is you and Korea's own choice. I won't say anything more. Anyway, I hope the future will be good." Wang Ying choked, "I'm really scared, so scared." "Well, aiding Korea will definitely be fine," He Tiantian said. "By the way, do you want to send a telegram to your parents-in-law?" Wang Ying thought for a while and said, "Fine, I will send a telegram tomorrow, saying that they are injured and asking them to come to Yanjing." The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi Xing Cao. Chapter 870. 868. He Tiantian thought for a while, nodded and said, "Yes, his parents should indeed come over." When she arrived at home, Grandma Wang saw He Tiantian and Wang Ying coming back and asked hurriedly, "How is it?" Wang Ying's eyes were red. He Tiantian said in a deep voice, "Brother Yingzhi suffered a fracture and his life is not in danger. Yuan Chao was seriously injured, but fortunately he has been rescued." "Thank God." Grandma Wang put her hands together. "You guys should go in the house quickly, have a bowl of ginger soup, and sleep well for a few hours. You have to go to the hospital to take care of me tomorrow." "Well," He Tiantian nodded, "Grandma Wang, you should go to bed quickly. I probably won't be able to be at home tomorrow. The children at home still need you to watch over them." "Sorry to trouble you, Grandma Wang," Wang Ying said gratefully. At this time, she had no time to take care of the child. Grandma Wang said, "Don't worry about the family, I'm watching over the child." Grandma Wang went to rest. He Tiantian served some ginger soup to Wang Ying and made 2 bowls of noodles, but Wang Ying only ate a little. After washing up a little, he and He Tiantian went into the bedroom to rest. Wang Ying tossed and turned and couldn't sleep, worried about her husband in the ward. When the sky was slightly bright, Wang Ying got up and said, "Sister-in-law, I want to go home to get some changes of clothes for you and Xiao, and then go to the hospital. I really can't worry about it." "Okay." He Tiantian nodded, "I'll ask Zhang Ning to give it to you." Zhang Ning heard the voice, quickly started the car, and then went to wash up. After washing up and the car was hot, Wang Ying was sent off. He Tiantian cooked porridge in the rice cooker, and then went to the house to pack some changes of clothes for Huo Yingzhi. Then the child woke up and He Tiantian dressed the child again. After finishing cleaning and having breakfast, Grandma Wang said, "Tiantian, over at the old house, when we get to the hospital, ask Zhang Ning to inform you." "Yeah." He Tian nodded. Huo Yingzhi had done something bad and he should tell his family. It was too late yesterday, and he Tian was worried about scaring her elders. Seeing that Huo Yingzhe was fine, she didn't tell her elders. After dinner, he Tian took several thermos bottles filled with breakfast, including porridge, steamed buns, soy milk, fried dough sticks, etc., as well as a large bag of clothes, and went to the hospital. When we arrived at the hospital, Wang Ying also arrived. He Tian put down her things and asked, "Is Yuan Chao awake?" Wang Ying nodded and said, "Yuan Chao just woke up once. He was too weak and fell asleep again." "That's good. Falling asleep proves that you are recovering," he Tian said. "You haven't had breakfast yet. Come on, let's have some together." He Tian poured a bowl of porridge for Huo Yingzhe. Huo Yingzhe only had a broken leg, but his arm was fine and he could eat by himself. Jiangning and Xiewu also came to eat some to fill their stomachs. "Jiangning, go to the Huo family's old house and talk to your grandfather and grandmother, but try to be as tactful as possible and say it's a fracture, so that the old man won't be able to bear it," he Tian reminded. "I know, sister-in-law." Jiangning nodded, wiped his hands and left. Wang Ying ate a steamed bun and drank a bowl of porridge, and said, "Sister-in-law, I'm going to send a telegram to my parents-in-law and ask them to come too. It's just that I'm afraid of them." He Tian thought for a while and said, "Let's do it this way. When Jiangning comes back from Huo's house later, ask Xiewu to go to your hometown for you and pick up the second elder to avoid any accidents on the way." Wang Ying's eyes lit up after hearing this, and she said gratefully, "Thank you, sister-in-law. Thank you, sister-in-law. I'm really worried about aiding the DPRK and can't go in person." "You're welcome," he Tian said. "We are all good brothers and sisters." He Tian was talking, Huo Jekian, Huo Yingjun came over in a hurry. They work in the government and are relatively well informed. They got the news when they arrived at work today and hurried over to take a look before they had time to notify the old man. Jiangning shouldn't be that fast. "Uncle, eldest brother," he Tian was a little surprised when she saw the visitor. "Jiangning just went to inform, so he hasn't arrived at the old house yet." "How is Yingzhe?" Huo Jekian saw that he Tian was not very sad, so there should be no danger for his life. "I just arrived at the unit and heard the news, so I hurried over and met Yingjun at the entrance of the hospital." He Tian nodded and said, "That's it? Yingzhe is in the ward. You go in first, and I'll go see brother Yingzhe and his colleague." "Well, then you go ahead," Huo Zhe said, walking in a hurry. Dr. Lu was examining Zhou Yuanchao and said, "If there are no accidents, he can be transferred to the general ward in the afternoon." When Wang Ying heard this, she burst into tears and continued to pray. "Wang Ying, look at Yuanchao's complexion. He must be fine," he Tian said. "With such a good wife like you, such a lovely child and parents and a sister to support, Zhou Yuanchao, such a responsible person, must be reluctant to leave." "Yes, sister-in-law, I also believe that the aide to Korea will wake up." Wang Ying choked, "He can't bear to leave us." He Tian kept comforting Wang Ying. Wang Ying's mood improved a little, but because she didn't sleep well at night and was nervous, she almost fainted several times, so he Tian could only put her on a hospital bed to rest. "Wang Ying, please have a good sleep," he Tian said. "If Yuan Chao wakes up, you will faint when Yuan Chao wakes up. How can you take care of Yuan Chao?" Wang Ying nodded and said, "Okay, I'll take a rest." That being said, she kept her eyes on the clock on the wall, hoping it would be afternoon as soon as possible. Over there, Mrs. Huo and Mr. Huo were a little anxious when they heard that their grandson had broken a bone, but they were slightly relieved that his life was not in danger. When she came to the hospital, Mrs. Huo saw that there were only Huo Jekian and Huo Yingjun in her grandson's ward, but not he Tian. "Yingzhe, how's it going?" Mrs. Huo asked hurriedly. "Where's Tian? Didn't she go to work?" "Grandma, Grandpa, I made you worry. I just broke my leg and it's not serious, Huo Yingzhi said. Tian Tian didn't go to work. She was staying with my colleague's wife over there. What happened to your colleague's wife? Mrs. Huo asked. He Tian Tian is usually very smart, why is he not here to take care of her husband, but to take care of others? My colleague, Zhou Yuanxiao, was seriously injured while trying to save me, and is still in the intensive care unit, Huo Yingzhi explained. My colleague's wife couldn't bear it, and Tian Tian was worried, so she helped take care of her. That's it, Mrs. Huo nodded. That's right. Your grandpa and I will go and thank you later. Hearing the commotion here, he Tian Tian said, Wang Ying, please give me the address of your father-in-law and mother-in-law. I will send someone to pick them up. It will take 3 or 4 days to pick them up. Well, I'll write it right now, Wang Ying nodded, asked the nurse for pen and paper, and wrote an address. He Tian Tian found Xie Wu with the address and asked Xie Wu to pick up Zhou Yuanxiao's family. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 871. 869. Xie Wu looked at Huo Yingzhi and asked for Huo Yingzhi's consent. Go, try to comfort the elderly and don't let them be irritated, Huo Yingzhi said. Take good care of Zhou Yuanxiao's family along the way. After all, as you get older, you need to pay more attention. Yes, Leader Xie Wu agreed, then turned and left. He Tian Tian thought for a while, took out a wad of money from her bag, and said, Xie Wu, these money are round-trip tickets. Don't forget to buy tickets for Zhou Yuanxiao's family. Yes, sister-in-law, Xie Wu agreed and took the money. He only had enough money for his own round-trip ticket, and no extra money to buy tickets for others. After explaining these things, he Tian Tian looked at the people in the room and said, my grandfather, grandmother, aunt, and uncle are worried. Hey, what a blessing among misfortunes, Mrs. Huo said, thank you for your hard work. Father-in-law and mother-in-law, I haven't sent a telegram over there yet, do you think? He Tian Tian asked. Her vacation was only half a month away, and she was a little hesitant as to whether to send a telegram to her father-in-law and mother-in-law. Everyone looked at Mr. Huo and let the head of the family make up his mind. Mr. Huo thought for a moment and said, don't inform me. I just asked the doctor. Yingzhi will be discharged from the hospital in 2 days. Anyway, there is still half a month left, and the second son and his wife will return to Yanjing. Then we will go back to Yanjing, explain to them. That's fine, Mrs. Huo said, it's the end of the year, and it's the time to take stock of all kinds of things. It's indeed very busy, so don't tell them. Zheqian, Yingjun, hurry up and find out the cause of the matter, and be sure to put pressure on them, Mr. Huo said. My grandson has a bad fate, and accidents have happened time and time again. Our Huo family keeps a low profile and lets some people look down upon it. Yes, Father Huo Zheqian said in a deep voice. If something happened to his nephew under his nose, how could he explain it to his second brother? Then you can leave, Mr. Huo said. We must handle this matter well and let them know how powerful our Huo family is. Yes, Grandfather Huo Yingjun nodded and left with his father. When he Tian Tian saw Mr. Huo, Mrs. Huo was angry and comforted. Grandpa, Grandma, it's cold. You go back first. I'll just stay with you in the hospital. How can we rest assured when you are alone? Mrs. Huo said, looking at He Tian Tian with heavy dark circles, feeling a little distressed. Song Chunli said hurriedly, Dad, Mom, you go back first. I'll stay here to help Tian Tian take care of Yingzhi. Mrs. Huo was a little surprised. She didn't expect that her eldest daughter-in-law could change her mind at this critical moment. Second brother, the second brother and sister are not here, and you are getting older. As the eldest aunt, I don't take good care of my nephew. When the second brother and sister return to Yanjing, I won't have the face to face them, Song Chunli said with a smile. I'm here, Dad, Mom, you go back first. Mrs. Huo, Mr. Huo listened and nodded and said, okay, let's go to Maohutong first. Tian Tian, don't worry about the children at home. We will help take care of the children. At noon, let someone prepare a meal for you. Send lunch. Thank you, Grandpa and Grandma. Tian Tian nodded slightly. She was already worried about her family. She was afraid that Grandma Wang wouldn't be able to take care of her 3 children. She was also afraid that the 3 children would easily catch cold when they went out to play in the cold weather. They are all members of our own family, so why should we thank you? Mrs. Huo said. Yingja, you have a good rest. We are here, and you can't sleep well, which will further delay your rest. Grandpa, Grandma, be careful on the way, don't catch a cold from the cold wind, Huo Yingja reminded. The 2 old people came here despite the wind and snow, which made him feel guilty. I didn't expect that there are so many meticulous works at the feet of the emperor. The content of his work is so attractive. Yes, Mrs. Huo nodded, and left with the old man, returning to He Tian Tian and Huo Yingja's house in Maohutong. After seeing her father-in-law and mother-in-law leaving, Song Chunli smiled and said, Tian Tian, Yingja, if you need anything, just tell me directly and I will do it. Thank you, Aunt. It's okay for now, Huo Yingja said with a smile. Don't worry, Aunt. It's okay. I can't help with anything else. Just do some small things, Song Chunli said as she picked up the hot water bottle. There was not much hot water in it. You guys talk, I'll get some hot water. Thank you, Auntie, Huo Yingja thanked her. You're welcome, that's right. Song Chunli took the hot water bottle and went out. He Tian Tian smiled and said, actually, Auntie is not a bad person. Haha, it's not bad, Huo Yingja said. Here, help me go to the toilet. He Tian Tian was stunned and blushed a little, but thinking about it, if she didn't help, someone else would have to take him to the toilet. Okay, slow down, He Tian Tian said, helping Huo Yingja to the bathroom. Huo Yingja brought a cane and did not need He Tian Tian to follow him to the men's room. After Huo Yingja was released, He Tian Tian washed his hands and helped him to the hospital bed. Over there, Song Chunli had already brought hot water, poured a glass for Huo Yingja, and said, you guys can drink water. No need, Auntie, He Tian Tian said. Auntie, brother Yingja is sleeping. You can help me watch from the side. I'll go check on Wang Ying. I'm worried that she'll be emotional over there alone. Go, that's the benefactor of our Huo family, Song Chunli said. Don't worry about Yingja. He Tian Tian smiled, nodded, and said, then I'll trouble Auntie. After helping Huo Yingja lie down, He Tian Tian left. Wang Ying's eyes were bloodshot, but she still stared at the clock on the wall without blinking. He Tian Tian poured a glass of water for Wang Ying and said, Wang Ying, drink a glass of water. Knowing that Wang Ying could not be persuaded, He Tian Tian stopped persuading her and stayed with Wang Ying silently. Wang Ying sometimes gets up, goes to the intensive care unit, and looks inside through the glass window. When it was almost 12 o'clock, Zhou Yuanchao woke up again and saw Wang Ying and He Tian Tian standing outside the window, with tears in his eyes. Zhou Yuanchao was scared, but fortunately, he didn't die. He also has a wife, children, parents, and sister, and these people need him. However, Zhou Yuanchao did not regret doing such a thing. Even if it happened again, he would still do it. In his heart, as long as the boss is here, everything else can be turned around. It seems that he made the right bet this time. Wang Ying watched her husband cry and quickly wiped away her tears for fear of making him sad. Dr. Lu went in, did another examination, and said with a smile, you have passed the critical period, but your body is relatively weak. You still need to rest more and don't get too excited. Zhou Yuanchao blinked and realized that he knew. After receiving the doctor's diagnosis, Wang Ying and He Tiantian could finally feel relieved. At noon, the family brought food over, and He Tiantian got some more for Wang Ying and asked her to eat more. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Qi Xing Cao. Chapter 872. 870. When Wang Ying saw that her husband was out of danger, she felt tired and hungry. After eating, she took a nap. When she woke up, her husband had been transferred to the general ward. Zhou Yuanchao was sleeping, and Wang Ying sat quietly beside him, looking at her husband. He Tiantian did not go in, leaving the couple inside. Huo Yingzhe was completely relieved when he heard that Zhou Yuanchao was out of danger. It seems that I can no longer keep a low profile like before, Huo Yingzhe said. He thought that as long as he studied hard, he would be able to get protection from above and protect his family and friends. But that wasn't enough, he needed a lot of extra strength. He got some news from the little spin turtle. It turned out that some of the materials he had researched were already at the forefront of the world and played an important role in the military. Among those advanced materials, there has been no progress abroad, but he has researched them. There are people who intentionally or unintentionally join forces with foreign forces to steal important formulas. Damn it, I almost became cannon fodder again. Damn him. Just when Huo Yingzhe was annoyed, 8 people came in, surrounded by an old man. Huo Yingzhe sensed that the hospital had been surrounded and was on alert. He Tiantian turned her head and was stunned for a moment. She had only seen it on TV before, but she didn't expect to see the big leader in person. When Huo Yingzhe saw the old man, he quickly sat up. Because he couldn't use his feet, He Tiantian quickly stepped forward to help him. Sir, why are you here? Huo Yingzhe asked hurriedly. The old man nodded and said, you have been wronged. Tiantian, you go out first, Huo Yingzhe said to his wife. This old man came here not to comfort him. He probably had other things. In this case, there is no need to let the wife know. There were too many confidentiality rules and he didn't want his wife to get involved. Okay, He Tian nodded and prepared to go out. Haha, Yingzhe, is this your wife? The gentleman smiled, she is really a beautiful woman who will captivate the country. You are so lucky. He Tiantian was a little embarrassed to be praised by the big leader. She lowered her head like a shy little daughter-in-law. After passing by the big leader, she bowed slightly and said, I don't deserve your praise. After saying that, Shi Shiren left the room. There were many people in the corridor outside, and He Tiantian went directly to visit Zhou Yuanchao. A man next to him moved a chair and placed it next to the hospital bed, and the senior leader sat on the edge. This situation happened in the laboratory this time. It's a pity within the party that you and your colleagues have been wronged, the big leader said, those people are so outrageous. Huo Yingzhe smiled and said, fortunately, he survived and can still contribute to the country for 50 years. Hey, the big leader said happily, what happened this time was indeed something we didn't expect. After being tortured, the technician said that the several materials we have recently researched are difficult problems that have long been difficult to solve internationally. Progress has been made here, but the outside world can't stand still, because they don't know what level H's technology is at now, and what you've shown is making them sleepless. Huo Yingzhe smiled bitterly and said, the trees are beautiful in the forest, but the wind will destroy them. Seeing Huo Yingzhe's expression, the senior leader comforted him, Yingzhe, you are the pillar of the country. The great power of the country is under construction and it needs you. As for the safety of your family, I will personally send people to protect your safety. Huo Yingzhe couldn't refuse, and at the same time, he didn't want to hide his ability and make it easier for those foreign forces. Only by becoming more talented and outstanding can your family be safer. Sir, I will continue to work hard, Huo Yingzhe said. So far, he ranks second in domestic materials science, and no one dares to claim first. The big leader nodded and said happily, the previous laboratory was too crude. Now we have decided to build a laboratory in Zikin. I will send a comrade to help you handle the schedule. As long as you are responsible for research, you will be the general manager there, engineer, majoring in materials science. It's not that the organization doesn't want to build a new studio in Shangzhou, but some experiments simply can't be done in the laboratory and must be done in the factory. After all, it is impossible to buy all the equipment in the laboratory. But that's fine, Huo Yingzhi can go home every day. Mr. Huo? This is indeed an attractive title. As long as he is fully responsible, he can make it airtight. Careful work? No one wants to come in. Thank you for your help, Huo Yingzhi nodded. It seemed that the materials he had produced before had played a huge role in key positions. The most important weapon of the country has made progress. Do it well and you will have a bright future. The big leader nodded. Okay, have a good rest. Only with talented people can we achieve scientific and technological progress. China has wasted many years and must work hard to catch up. If you fall behind, you will be beaten. The hard facts made them realize the urgency of the municipal bureau. With the reform and opening up at home, and with the deepening of foreign understanding of country H, they gradually understood Napoleon's words, the advantage of relying on firearms is short-lived, and it is most unwise to fight against a vast and ancient empire. Yes, China is a sleeping lion. Once it wakes up, it will shock the world. Country H has proven this statement with facts, and they will use more facts in the future to let those people know how terrifying the waking lion is. After the husband left, Huo Yingzhi was silent for a long time. Until He Tiantian came in, Huo Yingzhi was still thinking about his own affairs. Brother Yingzhi, no matter what decision you make, I will support you, He Tiantian said. People are in the world and have no control over their own actions. They enjoy the benefits brought by the country's stability and must do their part for the country. He Tiantian understands. So she didn't want to embarrass Huo Yingzhi. Well, but I won't leave you to go to a remote place, Huo Yingzhi said. Build a materials laboratory in the suburbs of Zikin and let me take full responsibility, Huo Yingzhi said. I will manage it in my own way when the time comes. Nothing like this will happen. I believe you, He Tiantian said. As long as you are well, I don't care about any of this. If it's safe to go to Shannoon, go ahead and remember to come back occasionally. He Tiantian was scared. After experiencing this kind of ordeal twice, she could hardly bear it anymore. Haha, no need, Huo Yingzhi said. Those hostile forces, if they are exposed this time, it will be an opportunity for me and the aid to Korea. He Tiantian sat sideways on the bed and gently placed her head on Huo Yingzhi's shoulder. She has her own career and hobbies, so she understands Huo Yingzhi's mood and hopes that he will also have the opportunity to express his talents instead of doing nothing.